First at 4, we're painted blue again on Storm Tracker 4, and that means the snow showers are back for the drive home. We'll tell you how much longer to expect it. Karen?
Also first at 4, we're tracking the work of an FDA advisory panel looking at a second vaccine for COVID-19. That meeting happening right now, and we'll tell you where things stand. And it's the Michigan county President Trump has been tweeting about. We're also tracking a new election audit. Larry.
And Karen, I'm live in Hamtramck, where a national sports organization is changing the script that could honor local baseball players who played right here. That's all new at 4.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, will the United States soon have a second vaccine to fight the coronavirus? That question being considered right now. We're monitoring the work of an outside FDA advisory panel. We'll bring you that decision as soon as it happens. Meantime, here's a snapshot of where things stand this afternoon in Michigan. The state is reporting more than 4,000 new cases of the virus in the past 24 hours. It's about the same number we saw yesterday. We've seen an additional 190 deaths, including 125 from a vital records review. Another vaccine won't immediately impact those numbers, but it should be a step forward. The FDA's vaccine advisory panel has been meeting for the past 7 hours, reviewing the safety and efficacy of Moderna's coronavirus vaccine. A key concern raised repeatedly during the meeting is the impact that Pfizer's authorization has already had on Moderna's participants. Over 25% of Moderna's volunteers are healthcare workers who are now eligible to get Pfizer's vaccine.
We are currently, since the EUA authorized last week, having substantial dropout from study participation given the increasing availability of vaccines. This dropout undermines the data integrity and what can be learned. We must be proactive to ensure that the best choice is for our participants to remain in the study.
Moderna has proposed using vaccine leftover from the clinical trial to vaccinate those in the placebo group to encourage them to remain in the study and continue contributing to the safety and efficacy data. The advisory panel is expected to vote within the hour on whether or not to recommend Moderna's vaccine for emergency use authorization. We'll have their decision ahead on Local 4 News at 5. 6 men have now been indicted by a federal grand jury accused of plotting to kidnap Governor Whitmer. The men were arrested and charged in October with conspiring to kidnap the governor from her vacation home earlier this year. The FBI says some of the men belong to an anti-government militia group called the Wolverine Watchmen. 5 pleaded not guilty during arraignments held today via video conference. If convicted, they face a maximum penalty of life in prison. We'll have more from today's court appearances when you join us at 5. Now, an audit of votes in the 2020 election is taking place in Michigan's Antrim County. The state and a bipartisan team of clerks are hand tallying those votes. Antrim County has been in the national spotlight because initial results show Joe Biden ahead of President Trump. Election officials say the clerk made an error and Trump ended up winning that county. Well, that sparked a controversy over the Dominion voting system. Officials have said there were no problems with the tabulators. We'll bring you the results of that audit as soon as they are available. Well, if you had any complaints about our snow last night, take a look at what has been piling up over on the East Coast. The first major snowstorm of the season is breaking records in several states. Hazardous road conditions caused dozens of crashes in Connecticut, New Hampshire, and eastern New York. Snow totals sound crippling, with some areas getting 3 feet or more of snow. Take a look at what greeted one New Yorker this morning. Whoa, that was the view Sean Patrick saw as his garage door finally opened this morning. He lives in Binghamton, New York, which was pounded. They got 40 inches. Basically, everything outside that garage was blanketed with snow. And remember, winter hasn't even officially started. That makes me laugh. Let's check in with Ben Bailey. He's in the weather office with that first forecast. I know it's not officially started, but come on, Ben, it's here.
Yeah, it feels like it already has. I would have just shut that garage door and gone back in the house. No, you can't do anything about it when it's that tall. Storm Tracker 4 has much less snowfall over us this afternoon. Very similar setup to what we saw yesterday, but I think these snow showers are a lot lighter considering where we were with some of the robust snow showers, especially on the east side last night. You can see when those visibility numbers are above 2 miles, That indicates that snow is light and probably not accumulating. So we're expecting that across most of the area, although there's a couple there out in Howell. You can see have visibility at 2 miles. Also at Mount Clemens, and it was a little bit lower in Monroe just earlier this afternoon. Temperatures just a couple degrees milder than what we saw yesterday, but still cold enough to obviously support snow this entire time. We'll see those snow showers start to taper off about 8, 9 o'clock. Again, similar to what we saw yesterday. And then we're into the 20s as we go into the evening hours tonight. Going forward, we've got another chance of some rain and snow over the weekend and a clearer picture of the Christmas holidays all coming your way in a few minutes. Karen?
All right. Thank you, Ben. Well, we are hearing a lot of reassurances that Congress is working hard to pass a COVID relief bill. But so far, we're not hearing it's a done deal. The wait continues even as more Americans file for unemployment. More than 885,000 people applied for first-time benefits last week. That is the highest number since September 5th. It's clear so many people are still hurting. Kimberly Gill in the newsroom with more from Washington. Kim.
Hi, Karen. Good afternoon. We've been following these negotiations all week. We've seen movement toward new stimulus checks, but it's not clear how close lawmakers might be to an actual vote. The clock, though, is ticking as the government faces a shutdown tomorrow at midnight. Congressional leaders acknowledged they will probably have to pass another temporary spending measure like they did last Friday. The COVID relief bill totals about $900 billion right now. So the key components include $300 in federal jobless benefits and $600 in stimulus payments to individuals who qualify. Negotiators say there are disagreements over some finer points that could knock the talks off track. Senate leaders are focusing on getting the deal done, though.
I continue to appreciate our productive discussions, but I hope we also remember just how urgent the situation is for millions and millions of our fellow citizens.
None of the remaining hurdles cannot be overcome. Everyone is committed to achieving a result, and we will not leave until we get the job done.
And there's a lot riding on this deal, with unemployment benefits about to run out for 10 million people just after Christmas. Plus, money is needed to help distribute these vaccines. So, Karen, we'll bring you any updates coming up on the news tonight at 5 and 6. Until then, we'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Kim.
Sure.
Well, in this era of racial reckoning, Major League Baseball is taking a big step forward by honoring its past. The MLB is finally recognizing the historic Negro Leagues as part of its own history, counting the statistics and records of thousands of black players. Local 4's Larry Sproul has been gathering reaction to the decision. And Larry, this is no small gesture.
Not at all, Karen. I talked to players and family members of the players and a local historian, and they tell me that this is huge news. Now, those players played right here at this stadium in Hamtramck years ago, and family members say today is a long time coming.
Wait, let me show my shirt.
Oh, wow.
That's my favorite picture. I had this T-shirt made.
Rosalind Stearns may be a little biased when it comes to her father.
He's one of the greatest baseball players that ever lived.
That man she's talking about is Norman Thomas Stearns, a.k.a. Turkey Stearns, a famous Negro baseball player for the Detroit Stars. They played here at this historic stadium in Hamtramck.
He's what you call a 5'2" player because he could run, hit, and field, and he could do it all. He played with Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, and those guys are all in the Hall of Fame. But all of those guys really that he played with should have been in the Hall of Fame.
But Stearns tells me back then her father and other players did not get the respect they deserved, if any at all.
They had to go through some terrible things. I mean, they went through the 2 world wars. They had the Depression. And not only that, but they had a pandemic like we're experiencing now. And then they also had to deal with racial discrimination because these guys were so good, but they weren't being allowed to play in the major leagues.
But recently, the Major League Baseball League is changing the script. Major League Baseball is acknowledging past racial wrongs. They're recognizing several of the Negro leagues on the same level as the American and National Leagues. Leaders with the organization believe this distinction will change the official record books, honoring more than 3,400 players from distinct Negro leagues that operated between 1920 and 1948. Those players will be recognized as major leaguers, and the stats and records will show that.
A lot of folks do not know that there were 4 teams during the Negro League time frame that were here in Detroit. The most famous is the Detroit Stars. You also had the Detroit Wolves, the Motor City Giants, and the Detroit Senators.
Negro League historian Lewis Manley Jr. says this is a huge win.
It's overdue, but it's a bittersweet moment because most of the guys are gone.
Manley says one of the Detroit players who deserves recognition.
Most dominant player in the Negro League history of Detroit Stars would be Turkey Stearns.
And so I also reached out to the Negro Baseball League's museum, and the spokesperson sent me this statement. Now, it says in part that the Negro League Baseball Museum is thrilled to see this well-deserved recognition of the Negro Leagues. In the minds of baseball fans worldwide, this serves as historical validation for those who have been shunned from the major leagues and had the foresight and courage to create their own league that helped change the game and our country too. We're live in Hamtramck. Larry Spruill, Local 4.
And Larry, I've got to mention, I know the Major League is saying the Negro League ended in the late 40s, but really it could have went longer than that.
Yeah, and so Karen, the historian that I talked to, he tells me that it did. He says players and teams played right here at this stadium in Hamtramck way past the 40s into the early and mid 60s. Karen?
Oh, what a great story. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Larry. Still ahead, another world leader tests positive for COVID-19, and there are concerns he may have been a one-man super spreader. We're not talking about Vladimir Putin, but we will talk about why the Russian president says he won't get his country's vaccine, how Russia is taking a different approach. Plus, now it's Google's turn. The search engine giant is the latest tech company to face sweeping legal action. We'll explain in Trending Stories.